Alright, so now I've restarted my Keanu-verse. It's time to restart the SlyMania. What's next? Full Moonathon? Well, I tried that with Killjoy 2, and that movie sucked, so I stopped doing them, but I want to get back into those two. But for now, we'll do these two. SlyMania, which is so long ago, over a year ago, that I done it, that I was still in the habit of starting my videos with, "Yo, it's me, it's the SDOTT, baby." That's before I switched to just SDOTT and then just got rid of it because I didn't like it anymore. The last one I did for SlyMania is I See You, which was the Stallone horror thriller that I watched on Tubi. So now we have Tango and Cash from 1989, starring Sylvester Stallone, obviously, and Kurt Russell, in a buddy cop movie where they play two cops, Ray Tango and Gabriel Cash, and they are both set up for a murder of a federal agent, framed for the murder of a federal agent, and have to spend 18 months in a prison. And it's the buddy cop movies. Of course, they escape and they have to find the person who did this to them. So, yes, and I like this movie starts off with a little bit of a chase, and you see two different sides of the spectrum here with Tango, Stallone's character, wearing a nice suit, glasses, and having a more well-mannered demeanor, beating up Robert Zadar, and then pointing out that there's not gas in there, but there's drugs. They don't believe him, and then he shoots it, doesn't explode, and then cocaine starts coming out of it, and what do you know? He was right. Then we contrast that with our introduction to Cash, where he is attacked in his own apartment, wearing Kevlar, of course, shot by a Chinese man, which is all part of the setup. There's this villain by the name of Pere, played by Jack Palance, who is set up with these two other crime lords, Quan and Lopez. Quan is played by my man, James Hong, who I've seen in a million things. I love him. That's why I never eat bologna. Those of you who know, I'm in the band, look at that. But he's fantastic. He doesn't do much except for sit there and smoke a cigarette for most of the time and argue with Palance. Now, I gotta agree with these guys. Quan and Lopez are questioning Perret, whatever, his plan. They want to just kill them because they're messing with all their drug running schemes. They want to just kill them. But Palance, or Perret, says, "Oh, you can't do that. It'll incite more police brutality from the other cops if we do that." Maybe. Or it'll send a message. His plan is very complicated for me. He frames them for the murder of a FBI agent. FBI agent, that's the wrong series. But, and they go to court and they take a plea for 18 months in a local prison. But then they get sent to a different jail where it's set up from the beginning because Perret shows up with his bodyguard, played by Brian James, who is a questionable performance as they make him British with a Cockney accent. It doesn't work. It works better if he's a silent villain, most likely. I mean, he was all right as Janky in House 3, the horror show, but the British accent doesn't work for him. But yeah, so they get in jail, and you think that Perret would just let them rot in jail for 18 months and he can get his job done and go. But no, he has some sort of blood feud with them and decides to torture them, which leads them to escaping. They get tortured and they find this guy that that Cash knows, and he helps them to escape. The guy dies, but they get out anyway. But it's this you know, attack that fuels them to do so and get revenge. Basically, you got some character actors here like Michael Jeter as the authenticator of the audio authenticator, of the tapes. And you have I had it in his name, Clint Howard as Slinky. That's what they call him. This is my fiance, Slinky. You have Robert Zadar, I already mentioned. You have Michael J. Pollard as a sort of Q type character to Cash's James Bond, where he gives him some gadgets and a cool vehicle, which they say they won't scratch, but they go through a wall anyway. It was fun. It was like, oh wait, isn't that like a James Bond scene? You go to get gadgets from him, so it was kind of cool. Apparently this movie had a very rough production with Stallone firing a few different directors for not seeing his vision. The script was constantly being rewritten, and yeah, there's a different actress in the role of Catherine who plays Stallone's sister in the movie, or Tango's sister. She's alright. I've never been a big fan of her. Lois and Clark, yeah, she's alright on there too, and I'm going to see her in a Bond movie in the future, so, there's that. But yeah, Perret's plan is just kill him. We wouldn't have a movie otherwise, but this whole thing about sending him to jail, it'd be one thing if he sent him to jail and let him rot for 18 months while he got his jobs done. But he has to poke the bear. So by the time the end of the film, and you can say that maybe the rewrites in the script changed that, and that makes sense too, because if you just, even Jack Palance himself said he never actually shared a scene with Stallone. And if you watch the film, you can see that. The scene where they go into the jail and he's there, he's kind of shot from an angle where he's in shadow. You just hear his voice, and it's obvious that it's overdubbed voice. And then at the end, it's shot where it cuts back and forth between Palance holding Catherine and then the other two on the other side. So you never know. But yeah, you can, maybe the rewrites caused Palance's character to go through a big change. He was supposed to be more laid back, I guess, and that makes sense to the whole put him in jail for 18 months thing. But then it does become suspicious that he just wants to torture them now and almost give himself away. And, they see Brian James, and Tango recognizes him right away as the guy he followed. So now they know they've actually been set up. I mean, most people know they were set up anyway, which leads me to wonder, then why were they put away? I know there's a lot of evidence, but when overabundance of people know that they're set up, I mean, come on. I mean, maybe it's not the right people, but we do find out that even the judge was in on it too, and not the judge, but the FBI agent who arrested them, which that whole arrest scene is very flimsy. Like, they go in there, and they're standing in front of the DA agent. Oh, you're under arrest, put the gun down. And then someone's like, hey, I don't know this guy, I didn't come here with this guy, he's on his own, and they find it, Cash's gun earlier. There's a scene that says that the sight is off. I don't know if that's supposed to indicate that someone was messing with it, but they find his gun, and yeah, I'm like, that's very flimsy evidence, man. Just because they're standing there and they find his gun there, doesn't mean that's what it does. And then, he's wired, okay. But then they get the tapes, and it's been edited from other stuff. I'm like, because we only see them standing there and the conversation they have. All of a sudden, they got a whole different conversation on these tapes. And I'm like, what? Turns out they had it edited from other conversations they've had before. Okay. Sure. I'm not going to let that, hurt my opinion on this movie. Because I honestly, I love this movie. It's got really good action. Stallone and Russell, Sylvester Stallone and Kurt Russell have a great chemistry in this film. They go off each other very well. There was one thing I questioned, like, why? I understand you have Tango's sister in the film, why did she have to be Cash's love interest? It just didn't. And you have the scene. They really made me roll my eyes when Tango gets to his sister's house, going in. She's massaging Cash because he's hurt, whatever. She's making sure, she's working out his arm and everything. And it sounds like they're having sex. Like, oh, it's in, deep. And just like, yeah. And then they find a guy, like, Tango sees a guy out the back and tackles him. It's the police chief, his police chief, and they get to talking. And it's just like, they argue for the rest of the film. Yes, that has good camaraderie between them. It shows the chemistry. But did they have to add that in there? It's so cliche. And this is 1989, so by then, it is sort of cliche. Wasn't there a thing in one of the Lethal Weapons where Riggs was kind of eyeing the oldest daughter of Murtaugh? I think. Isn't that the first one when we went to dinner or something? She's kind of eyeing him or something. I didn't like it then, and I don't like it here with the sister. It just doesn't work for me. Ronnie Cox. Wow. Jack Palance as the villain, I think he's fantastic. This is the same year as Batman, and I think he's really good in that one too. But he's more over the top here with his performance and the way he talks. Yeah, sounds like a Triple H. It's fantastic. The other two, Quan and Lopez, I didn't even know who they were. They kept mentioning Quan and Lopez. I'm like, who are they? And then he mentions them by name in front of them. I'm like, oh, those two. You didn't establish who they were. So we had no idea. They didn't really do much establishing other than, Quan. But I think Quan's working for Lopez. And I'm going, who are either of those guys? And then they cut back later and, it's supposed to be those two. You didn't give us enough information to know that, but fine. Overall, this movie is a fun watch. I highly recommend it. And I'm giving it a 9 out of 10. I'm not going to give it a perfect score. I mean, it's got what you need for an 80s action flick. Explosion, swearing, tits, for the most part. I do have a complaint, though, that it's like a dancing club or something. I'm assuming it's supposed to be some sort of strip club. There's no naked women. Maybe it's just a dancing club. Is there just dancing clubs anymore? It's 1989, it could have been, but just saying. And they have Kurt Russell dressed as a woman. I forgot to mention that. Who would believe that he's a woman, but then hit on him? They're like, one of the cops is like, hey, how about a three-way? And they both flick their cigarettes at him. And this guy doesn't get burned at all. It just bounces off him. It's like, what? No, he would be, gee. I've been burnt accidentally by a cigarette before. Twice. It hurts. Maybe once. I don't know. I was waving my hand. I got too close. Bumped it. Burnt myself. Nothing major. It happens. Never on purpose, though. It hurts. So just flinging it at someone, you're going to have a mark somewhere. Otherwise, it's a solid 9 out of 10 movie for me. I really enjoyed it. I'd love to watch it again. This is a movie I have to get on Blu-ray. I thought it was fantastic. And I watched it on Tubi. You can watch it on Tubi right now. It's free. Why not? There's some ads in there, but it's fine. Oh, another thing I'm going to question here. So, I'm going to complain. This is a little bit of a fun complaint. Why Ric Flair got to be everywhere, man? You watch a WWE show, you get a commercial with Ric Flair. You watch an AEW show, you get a commercial with Ric Flair. You watch an Impact Wrestling show, you get a commercial with Ric Flair. You watch Tango and Cash on freaking Tubi, has nothing to do with professional wrestling, you get an ad with Ric Flair. Same ad, too. Some kind of, I don't know what it's for, because he goes, oh, woo! But he's everywhere. Ric Flair will not leave me the head alone. Alright? I'll leave you with that. Until then, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I've been Scotty. Until when? I don't know. Goodbye.